Richard Ashford steps off the elevator into his $40 million penthouse. He's home 14 hours early from Singapore. His son doesn't know he's back. Then he hears it. Voices. Multiple languages. French, Spanish, Chinese, and another sound he hasn't heard in months. His son. Laughing. Richard moves quietly down the hallway. The marble floor was cold under his feet. The voices get clearer. Oliver's voice, his 8-year-old autistic son who barely speaks, is saying something in perfect Mandarin. He reaches Oliver's study room. The door is cracked open. What he sees inside stops his heart. Celeste, his black housekeeper, the woman he pays to clean toilets, sits on the floor with Oliver. Flashcards in 5 languages spread around them. Cultural maps, teaching materials he's never seen. His son, who 12 specialists couldn't reach, is speaking, laughing, learning. Richard stands frozen in the doorway. What do you do when the person you've ignored for 2 years turns out to be exactly what your family needed? 3 weeks earlier. Oliver Ashford is 8 years old. Diagnosed autistic at age 3. For 5 years, Richard has spent over $500,000 trying to fix his son. 12 therapists, all top specialists, all white, all expensive, all failures. Oliver barely speaks. Won't make eye contact. Lives trapped inside himself. Richard's wife died 2 years ago. Since then, he's buried himself in work. It's easier than watching his son suffer. Easier than feeling helpless. That Wednesday, Richard's Singapore meeting was canceled. He catches an early flight home. Arrives at 4:30 instead of tomorrow morning. The penthouse should be quiet. But the elevator opens to voices. Multiple languages flowing like music. And his son's voice underneath. Richard freezes. Sets his briefcase down silently. Moves toward Oliver's study in his socks. French, Spanish, Chinese, Arabic, and Oliver. Talking. The study door is cracked open. Richard looks inside. Celeste sits cross-legged on the floor with Oliver. Handmade flashcards surround them. Words in 5 languages. Hand-drawn maps. Musical instruments. Colorful fabric. She's telling a story. A boy traveling the world. Each country has a different language. Oliver looks directly at her. Repeat phrases. Laughs. Holds her hand. He's present. Connected. Alive. Richard paid Harvard doctors $300 an hour. None of them achieved this. His hand grips the doorframe. 3 emotions hit at once. Shock. How is this possible? Confusion. Who gave her permission? And something uglier. Something he doesn't want to examine. Resentment. This black woman who cleans his toilets can do what white specialists couldn't. It doesn't fit. It threatens everything he believes about how the world works, about credentials, about who belongs where. Then Oliver speaks in Mandarin, a complete sentence with perfect tones. Learning requires patience and love. Richard knows that phrase. He heard it in Shanghai last week. It's an advanced idiom, not beginner at Chinese. His 8-year-old autistic son just said it correctly. Celeste beams with pride. She ruffles Oliver's hair like he's her own child. Richard stands frozen in the doorway. His briefcase leather is still warm from the cab. His tie feels too tight. His chest hurts. The woman he's walked past for 2 years without really seeing has unlocked his son. And he has no idea how to process what that means. Richard steps into the room. Celeste jumps to her feet immediately. The professional boundary snaps back into place. Her shoulders square. Her voice drops to the tone she uses for work. Mr. Ashford, I didn't expect you until tomorrow. I'll start dinner right away. Oliver stays on the floor, looking up at his father with confusion, afraid he's done something wrong. Richard doesn't smile. His voice comes out cold, controlled. What is this? He points at the materials scattered across the floor. Flashcards, Maps. Cultural objects. Celeste looks down. Oliver was struggling with communication, sir. I thought a different approach might help. I didn't mean to overstep. You speak Mandarin. Not a question. An accusation. Yes, sir. How many languages do you speak? Celeste hesitates. She knows this tone. It's the same tone Dr. Stevens used in the waiting room. The tone people use when they've decided you don't belong. A few, sir. I just heard you teaching my son 5 languages simultaneously. His jaw is tight. His briefcase still sits in the hallway where he dropped it. He looks like a man who's walked in on something he wasn't supposed to see. A few? Oliver doesn't understand adult tension. He jumps up, excited. Dad, Miss Celeste is teaching me about the Silk Road. I can say hello in 5 languages now. I know French and Spanish and Italian and Chinese and Arabic. He rattles off the greetings one after another. The sounds flow naturally from his mouth. Perfect pronunciation, no hesitation. It's the longest sentence Oliver has spoken in 6 months. Richard stares at his son, then at Celeste. His face shows confusion, joy, and something darker all mixed together. He picks up one of the flashcards from the floor. Each word is written in 7 languages, with hand-drawn illustrations, phonetic breakdowns, cultural context notes, teaching strategies for different learning styles. His business brain recognizes what he's seeing. This is an advanced methodology, the kind of thing elite international schools charge $25,000 per semester to provide. He opens Celeste's notebook. Daily progress tracking for Oliver. Strength and weakness analysis. Strategy adjustments based on the boy's responses. Research on multisensory teaching methods for autistic children. Professional level work. Richard looks up. Where did you study linguistics? I didn't, sir, not formally. These materials. You created these? Yes, sir, on my days off. Oliver said he felt stupid in his classes. I just wanted to help. Richard notices something on one flashcard, a Mandarin phrase, but not textbook Chinese. It's the Beijing business dialect, the specific kind he learned in Shanghai. This phrase, this is Northern Business Mandarin, not a standard textbook. Where did you learn this? Celeste's face shows discomfort. I listen to international business podcasts while I work, sir, and sometimes your conference calls, when you have them on speaker. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, You learned from my business calls? His voice rises slightly. You've been absorbing my work conversations? Oliver senses the tension. He moves closer to Celeste. Miss Celeste says languages help you understand people's hearts, not just their words. She can speak like Italian grandmas and Tokyo businessmen, Celeste corrects gently. 7 languages, Oliver. Not perfectly, but enough to have a conversation. Spanish, French, Italian, Mandarin, Arabic, German, and English. Richard's mouth actually opens. He stares at her. 7 languages. But instead of admiration, his first reaction is disbelief and anger. Nobody teaches themselves 7 languages. Where did you really study? Celeste stands silent. The insult registers on her face, but she doesn't respond. I'm telling the truth, sir. Richard's voice hardens. I've hired the best specialists in the world for my son, therapists from Mayo Clinic, autism experts from Boston, teachers from Switzerland, and now you want me to believe that my housekeeper has done what they couldn't? The word housekeeper lands like a slap. Celeste keeps her voice steady. I don't want you to believe anything, sir. I apologize for overstepping my boundaries. I only wanted to help Oliver. If you want me to stop, I want you to explain. Oliver starts to cry. He feels the anger in his father's voice. He wraps his arms around Celeste's legs, shakes his head. Celeste puts her hand on Oliver's head gently. Richard sees his son clinging to this woman, the only person who's reached him in years. His anger cracks slightly, but the suspicion remains. How? One word. cold, demanding. Celeste hesitates, then speaks carefully. "May I be excused from preparing dinner, sir?" She's retreating to safe territory, back to her role as staff. Richard suddenly realizes what she thinks. She thinks this conversation is leading to her being fired. She's not wrong. That evening, after Oliver goes to bed, Richard asks Celeste to stay for tea. Unusual request. She sits uncomfortably at the kitchen island, the place where she normally works. Now she's a guest. The marble feels cold under her hands. Richard doesn't know how to start. Finally, he just asks, "How did you learn 7 languages?" Celeste wraps her hands around the tea mug. Steam rises between them. "I was born in Bronzeville, South Side Chicago. My mother cleaned office buildings downtown. My father left when I was 3. No money for college." She pauses. Take a breath. "I got pregnant at 19. My son's name is Darius. He's 23 now." Richard listens. He's never asked about her life before, never thought to. "After Darius was born, I worked the night shift at O'Hare Airport, cleaning the international terminals. I'd listen to people talking, all these different languages. I was fascinated by how meaning could be expressed so differently." She looks down at her tea. "I checked out library books, listened to language tapes while I cleaned. I used YouTube, found conversation partners online. It took 10 years to become fluent in 7 languages." "Why didn't you pursue it professionally?" The question sounds stupid as soon as Richard says it. He already knows the answer. "No degree means no credentials. I applied to be a translator at hospitals and courthouses. Rejected every time. Lack of formal training, they said. The certification programs cost $60,000. I couldn't afford that. And I needed steady work with health insurance." "Why?" "Darius has type 1 diabetes. He needs insulin, medical care. I couldn't risk an unstable income." Richard feels something uncomfortable in his chest. He thinks about his Harvard MBA, his family connections, how every door opened easily, how he's never had to prove his intelligence with every breath. "What would you do differently?" he asks. "If you could." Celeste smiles. It's sad and small. "I'd teach. Languages open worlds. Every person deserves that key. Especially kids like Oliver. Kids who are locked inside themselves. Language isn't just words, it's a connection. It's freedom." She looks at Richard directly. "Your son doesn't need expensive specialists, Mr. Ashford. He needs someone who sees him, who believes he can learn, who has patience." Her voice is quiet but steady. "I wanted to prove to Darius that being poor doesn't mean you stop learning, that circumstances don't define potential. But then life kept happening. Eventually, I stopped trying to prove it to anyone except myself." Richard says nothing. His expensive watch feels heavy on his wrist. For 2 years, this woman has been invisible to him, walking past her, never asking who she was, what she knew, what she could offer. And she's been here the whole time, extraordinary, patient, wasted. 2 days later, Richard has a crisis. His firm is closing a $40 million deal with an Italian manufacturing company. The patriarch, Giuseppe Romano, is 72 years old. Family business, old world values. His English is limited. The translator they hired just quit. Family emergency. She's on a plane to Boston right now. Giuseppe arrives in 6 hours. Professional agencies want 48 hours notice. Richard has 6 hours. David Carter, his business partner, is blunt. "Richard, either we find a translator or we lose this deal. Get creative." Richard thinks of Celeste, then immediately hesitates. Can he really introduce his housekeeper as their translator? What will his partners think? What if she's not actually as good as he believes? And something else, something uglier. If she succeeds, it proves he was wrong about her. Wrong about credentials, wrong about who deserves to be in that boardroom. If she fails, He looks like an idiot in front of Giuseppe and his partners. He finds Celeste in the laundry room folding his dress shirts. The conversation is awkward. He's asking her to step far outside her role. I would compensate you, of course, and I wouldn't blame you if this doesn't. I'll do it. You don't want to think about. Mr. Ashford, you're asking if I can help. Yes, I can help. But Richard adds something. His voice drops. If this doesn't work, you understand. I can't have you continue with Oliver. It would be too risky. The words land like a threat. Celeste swallows, nods. I understand. She spends the next 5 hours preparing. Researching manufacturing terminology in Italian. Reviewing the contract documents Richard provides. Practicing technical phrases. She takes the bus downtown. Can't afford an Uber. She wears her one interview suit. Purchased years ago. Slightly too big now. The boardroom is on the 42nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Chicago. Leather chairs. Fresh coffee in expensive cups. Giuseppe Romano arrives. Old-world elegance. Expensive suit. Suspicious eyes. He's been burned by American businessmen before. When Richard introduces Celeste, the reaction is immediate. David Carter's eyebrows raise. Patricia Holbrook, the CFO, whispers to David. James Fletcher, head of operations, looks openly skeptical. This is our translator? James asks. Not quiet enough. Patricia adds, Richard, I think there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Richard says. His voice is stiff, but even he doesn't sound certain. Giuseppe speaks in rapid Italian, testing her. His tone is sharp. Celeste doesn't just translate the words. She interprets the culture. When Giuseppe uses a regional idiom from Tuscany, she explains the cultural context to Richard. When Richard uses an American business phrase, she reframes it in Italian with the proper formality for Giuseppe's generation. She switches between languages seamlessly, bridging not just words, but world views. Giuseppe's demeanor shifts. He leans forward, engaged. At one point, he mentions his granddaughter is learning Mandarin. He thinks it's crazy. What Italian girl needs Chinese? Celeste switches to Mandarin, shares a proverb about bridges between cultures, then back to Italian, explains that multilingualism is respect made tangible. Giuseppe lights up. He actually smiles. The meeting that should have taken 4 hours finishes in 90 minutes. Giuseppe signs, but more than that, he shakes Celeste's hand, speaks to her for 5 minutes in Italian. Richard catches 3 words: intelligent, graceful, rare. After Giuseppe leaves, Patricia approaches Celeste. Where did you train? I didn't. I'm self-taught. Silence. Then Patricia speaks carefully. That's extraordinary. But James Fletcher pulls Richard aside. His voice is cold. Who the hell is she, really? The next morning, Richard's partners request an emergency meeting, without Celeste. They gather in the conference room. Patricia closes the door. Richard, she was excellent yesterday, truly. But we need to talk about this. James Fletcher is more direct. We can't have your housekeeper sitting in on 7-figure deals. What message does that send to clients? Richard feels defensive. She saved us $40 million. Giuseppe was ready to walk before she explained the cultural context. And we're grateful, Patricia says carefully. Send her a bonus, a generous one. But Richard, be realistic. You can't turn your son's nanny into our Italian translator. David Carter leans forward. Here's my concern. We don't know her. No background check for corporate access. No NDA signed. She's an employee in your home. That's a liability. She's not a threat, Richard says. James cuts in. You don't know that. She could walk out tomorrow and we'd have no legal recourse. And frankly, Richard, there are professional boundaries for everyone's protection, including hers. The subtext is clear. They're not just worried about business risk. Patricia speaks more softly now. Richard, let me be direct. If a white woman with an Ivy League degree told us she taught herself 7 languages, we'd call her a prodigy. We'd hire her immediately. She pauses. But your black housekeeper says it? It doesn't add up. People will assume she's exaggerating, or that you're being emotional about your son. Either way, it reflects poorly on the firm. Richard feels anger rising. So we should ignore talent because it comes in the wrong package? James shakes his head. We should maintain professional standards. She cleans toilets, Richard. Yesterday she was negotiating international contracts. You don't see the problem with that? The problem is, she's better than the professionals we hired. Or, James says coldly, you want to believe that, because it makes you the hero who discovered her. Be careful what story you're telling yourself. The meeting ends badly. That evening, Richard's sister Caroline visits the penthouse. She's there to see Oliver. Richard is in his study when he hears her voice in the kitchen, talking to Celeste. The tone makes him stop. It's wonderful that you keep Oliver entertained, really. But Richard mentioned you're teaching him languages? Caroline's voice has that particular sweetness that means something cruel is coming. We should probably leave that to actual teachers. You're wonderful with him, don't misunderstand, but we don't want to confuse Oliver with, well, you know what I mean. Richard walks into the kitchen. Celeste's face is carefully blank. Professional. Of course, ma'am. Caroline, can I speak with you, privately? After Caroline leaves, angry and defensive, Richard finds Celeste in the laundry room again. She's folding towels with mechanical precision. I'm sorry about my sister. It's fine, sir. It's not fine. Celeste looks up. Her eyes are tired. Mr. Ashford, this isn't going to work. I'm your housekeeper. I can't be both. Your colleagues see me as the help. Your sister sees me as the help. That's what I am. And Oliver needs stability, not this confusion about who I am to him. What if you weren't the housekeeper? What if... I don't have a degree. I don't have credentials. I don't have anything except skills that people like your partners will never trust, because it doesn't fit their idea of where intelligence comes from. She folds the last towel. I think it's best if I just do my job. The one you hired me for. Richard watches her retreat into the familiar role. Safe, small, invisible. And he realizes he's about to lose the one person who can reach his son. Before Celeste can quit, urgency strikes. Oliver's school is hosting International Day. Each grade presents a different culture. 3rd grade drew Egypt. The presentation is in 1 week. Mrs. Whitmore, Oliver's teacher, assigned him a speaking role. In Arabic. She pulled the text from Google Translate. Didn't verify pronunciation. Oliver is panicking. He has to recite 3 paragraphs in front of 200 parents. Wealthy parents. Parents who donate millions to Lincoln Park Academy. Richard is leaving for London in 2 days. Gone for a week. He feels helpless. Oliver has a meltdown that night. I can't do this. Everyone will laugh. I'll sound stupid. The learning disability beneath the autism makes memorization torture. Teachers have always told him he's slow, that he doesn't try hard enough. The thought of public failure terrifies him. Celeste finds him crying in his room. Without being asked, she sits beside him. Can I show you a trick? Over the next 5 days, during her off hours, Celeste works with Oliver. She breaks down the Arabic phonetically using sounds he already knows. She creates a story around the words. They're not random. They're part of an adventure. She adds movement. Each phrase has a gesture, engaging his body, not just his mind. She records herself so Oliver can practice anywhere. She adds music, puts the phrases to rhythm. Most importantly, she doesn't just teach Oliver what to say. She teaches him why it matters, about Egyptian culture, about respect, about how speaking someone's language is a gift. By day 3, Oliver isn't just memorizing, he's understanding. He creates his own visual storyboard to accompany the recitation. International Day arrives. Richard has returned early, rescheduled the London meetings. He's been an absent father too long. The school auditorium fills with designer clothes and catered food. Professional photographer. The development director hovers. These families fund everything. Oliver's turn comes. He walks to the microphone, visibly nervous. His hands shake. Richard holds his breath. Then Oliver begins. His pronunciation is perfect. Not Google Translate. Real Egyptian Arabic with proper regional accent. Parents sit up straighter. The Egyptian families in the audience exchange surprised looks. Oliver gains confidence with each word. He's not just reciting, he's performing, using Celeste's gestures, making eye contact, projecting his voice. He finishes. Silence. Then thunderous applause. An Egyptian father approaches Richard immediately. Dr. Karim Hassan, neurosurgeon, major donor to the school. Your son's Arabic was exceptional. Where did he learn? That was authentic Cairo dialect, not textbook. His tutor, Richard says carefully. I'd love their information. My daughter struggles with languages. That teaching method, incorporating culture, movement, story, that's advanced pedagogy. Other parents gather. Everyone wants to know who taught Oliver. Oliver, pure and honest, points across the auditorium. Miss Celeste, she's the best teacher ever. She speaks so many languages. Is she here? Every head turns. Celeste stands near the exit. She came to support Oliver but stayed in the back. In her work clothes, a coat over her arm, visible as staff, not parents. Dr. Hassan walks directly to her. You taught Oliver? The methodology you used? Which university did you study at? The room goes quiet. All eyes on Celeste. Other parents move closer. They see a black woman in simple clothes, standing where the help stands. The cognitive dissonance is visible on their faces. Mrs. Whitmore, Oliver's teacher, steps forward. Miss Williams, I owe you an apology. I gave Oliver an inadequate assignment without proper support. You saved him from embarrassment, and you taught him more in 1 week than I taught all semester. Dr. Hassan speaks loudly, deliberately. My wife directs the language department at Northwestern. They're always seeking educators with cultural fluency. May I connect with you? Patricia Holbrook is here. Her twins attend Lincoln Park Academy. She's watched this whole scene unfold. Celeste stands frozen, caught between two worlds, the invisible help, and someone people suddenly want to see. Richard makes a choice. He walks across the auditorium to Celeste, stands beside her publicly, doesn't hide, doesn't apologize. This is Celeste Williams. She's the most talented educator I've met, self-taught in 7 languages. She's been teaching my son. Whispers ripple through the crowd. Someone mutters, Wait, isn't she? The sentence doesn't finish, but everyone knows what it means. Dr. Hassan has social capital here. Board member, major donor. His voice carries weight. He speaks loud enough for others to hear. Miss Williams, my wife would very much like to meet you. Northwestern's language department is redesigning their pedagogy curriculum. What you've done, making language accessible, embodied, joyful. We've been theorizing it for years. You've actually achieved it. Mrs. Whitmore steps forward again. Our learning specialist position just opened. We need someone who can work with neurodivergent children, someone who understands different learning styles. Your approach with Oliver, I've never seen results like that. Would you consider interviewing? Celeste can barely speak. I don't have a teaching license. No, Mrs. Whitmore says carefully, but you have something rarer. You have results. Patricia Holbrook moves through the crowd. She's been watching, calculating. She speaks clearly, publicly. Miss Williams, I owe you an apology. I allowed my prejudices to blind me to real talent. I'd like to formally invite you to consult for Ashford Investments, not as a favor, as a partner. The room shifts. These are wealthy, educated people. They understand what they're witnessing, a status inversion, the help becoming the expert. Dr. Hassan's wife, Professor Layla Hassan, introduces herself. Miss Williams, I'd like to observe your teaching methods firsthand, and I'd be honored if you'd speak at our faculty symposium next month. I'm not a professor, Celeste says quietly. No. You're something we need more than professors. You're a practitioner, an artist, someone who's done the work, not just theorized about it. Oliver pushes through the crowd, wraps his arms around Celeste's waist. You're going to teach more kids, right? Kids like me? Celeste looks down at him. Her eyes are wet. I don't know, sweetheart. Richard speaks again, this time louder, making sure everyone hears. I'd like to hire you, Celeste, not as a housekeeper, as a language consultant and education advisor for my firm. Proper title, proper salary, proper respect. If you're interested. Celeste's hands shake. Mr. Ashford, I've cleaned your home for 2 years. How does that just change? Your colleagues will see me as the help who got lucky. I'll have to prove myself every single day. You've been proving yourself every day to people who weren't paying attention. That's on us, not you. An Egyptian mother steps forward. Miss Williams, my son is also autistic. He doesn't speak much. If you could do for him what you did for Oliver, please, name your price. Dr. Hassan adds, I'll sponsor a scholarship. Any child you work with shouldn't be limited by cost. Other parents crowd closer, asking questions, requesting contact information. Celeste stands in the center of attention. For 2 years, she was invisible in this building, picking up Oliver, standing in corners, waiting to be dismissed. Now everyone sees her, but she doesn't look triumphant. She looks overwhelmed. I need to think, she whispers to Richard. He nods. Take your time. But Celeste, you deserve this. All of it. That night, after the celebration dies down, Richard finds Celeste in the penthouse. She's packing her teaching materials, not to leave, to organize them properly for the first time, no longer hiding them. They sit on the floor of Oliver's study room, surrounded by handmade flashcards and cultural maps. Richard speaks first. Why didn't you tell me? For 2 years, why didn't you just say you spoke 7 languages? Celeste is quiet for a moment. Would you have believed me? The question lands hard. Richard has no answer. I applied for translation jobs at hospitals, at courthouses. I had recommendation letters from library tutors, community center teachers. They all said the same thing. Very nice, but where's your degree? They didn't ask if I could actually translate. They asked for credentials. Richard looks down at his hands. I'm embarrassed. I walked past you for 2 years saying good morning and nothing else. I never asked what you studied, what you dreamed about, who you were beyond what you did for my family. I'm sorry. Mr. Ashford. Richard. Please. A beat of silence. Richard. You're not a bad person. You're just normal. Most people don't see their housekeeper as someone with a mind like theirs. Most days I don't see myself that way either. It's easier to accept. Less disappointing. She shows him a photo on her phone. Her son Darius, graduating from community college, pharmacy tech program. His insulin pump is visible under his graduation gown. He's why I clean houses. Stable insurance, predictable hours, safety. He looks like you. He has my stubborn streak, wants to be a clinical pharmacist, needs 4 more years of school. I told him to dream smaller, safer. Richard asks quietly, what will you tell him now? Celeste smiles. Tears finally fall. That his mother just got offered 3 jobs in one day. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe safe and small aren't the same thing. Oliver appears in the doorway. Pajamas. Sleepy hair. He crawls into Celeste's lap without hesitation. She holds him, no longer worried about overstepping boundaries. "Miss Celeste, are you happy?" "I'm grateful, sweetheart." "That's not the same thing." Out of the mouths of children. Richard watches this. Realize something. Oliver has had emotional intelligence all along. Celeste didn't just teach him languages. She taught him to see people, really see them. "Oliver's right," Richard says. "You deserve to be happy, not just grateful. And I'm sorry it took me so long to see you." Celeste wipes her tears, smiles. "But you did see me, eventually. That's what matters." She looks around at the materials scattered on the floor, the evidence of her hidden gift. "I spent 20 years being invisible. Maybe that's over now." 3 weeks later, Celeste has been splitting time, consulting for Ashford Investments, still teaching Oliver, preparing for the learning specialist interview at Lincoln Park Academy. Her son Darius applied to pharmacy school. There's hope now. Then Richard's firm lands the biggest deal of their lives, $200 million, a joint venture with a Saudi Arabian sovereign wealth fund. The negotiations are in Chicago, 5 countries involved: Saudi Arabia, Germany, Japan, China, and the United States. The plan is solid. 6 professional translators coordinated through headsets. Standard corporate protocol. Day 1 of negotiations, 9 in the morning. The lead Arabic translator calls. Food poisoning. Her entire team is exposed. They're down 4 translators with 2 hours until the Saudi delegation arrives. Backup agencies are fully booked. Remote interpreters have bandwidth issues. This deal requires in-person, real-time, nuanced cultural interpretation. David Carter, now Celeste's ally, turns to Richard. "Can she handle 4 languages simultaneously?" "I don't know. I've only seen her do 1 at a time." The stakes are crushing. If this deal falls through, Ashford Investments loses $6 million in committed fees, their reputation in Middle Eastern markets, possibly 2 partners' jobs. James Fletcher is still skeptical. "Richard, this isn't translating pleasantries at a school event. This is complex financial terminology, legal implications, cultural landmines between countries with deep historical tensions. We're risking everything on your housekeeper?" The word housekeeper still cuts, still carries condescension. Patricia worries aloud. "If she fails in front of those clients, it won't just hurt us. It'll destroy any future she might have. People will say we pushed her too far, that she wasn't qualified. She'll become the cautionary tale about why credentialism exists." Richard calls Celeste, explains the situation, doesn't minimize the risk. "If you're not comfortable, I completely understand. This is beyond, I'll do it. Celeste, if this goes wrong, people won't just blame me. They'll blame you. They'll say you overreached, that you weren't ready. It will reinforce every stereotype about why credentials matter." Silence on the line. "Then I won't fail." Her voice is steel. 30 minutes to prepare. Patricia hands Celeste the documents. 50 pages of technical financial language, legal terminology, cultural protocols. Celeste speed reads, takes notes, asks 3 strategic questions that reveal she understands the deal structure better than the junior analysts. David whispers to Richard, "She's not just a translator. She understands the business." The meeting begins. Conference room. Panoramic Chicago skyline. 10 people around the table. The Saudi delegation. 3 men led by Prince Khalid Al Saud. Sophisticated, traditional, testing boundaries. The German representatives. 2 precision-obsessed executives. Impatient with imprecision. The Japanese contingent. 2 formal men. Indirect communication style. Everything about honor. The Chinese advisor. 1 silent observer. Watching power dynamics. The American team: Richard, David, Patricia, James. Managing egos and expectations. Celeste sits at the table's center, wearing Patricia's borrowed suit. No headset. She doesn't need one. Prince Khalid begins in Arabic, deliberately using formal, classical dialect, testing if she's just a basic speaker. His tone is respectful but probing. Celeste responds in kind, matches his formality, uses honorifics correctly, references an Islamic principle about honest partnership without overstepping religious bounds. The prince's expression shifts. Impressed. The German team jumps in. Technical question about liability structures, rapid-fire legal terminology. Celeste translates for the Saudis into Arabic, then for the Japanese with appropriate business formality, then for the Americans in plain English that captures German precision. She moves between languages like breathing. The Japanese representative asks a question, but it's intentionally vague, culturally appropriate for saving face. The subtext is concern about payment terms, but he can't say so directly. Celeste doesn't just translate literally. That would confuse everyone. Mr. Tanaka is expressing concern about timeline flexibility. In Japanese business culture, this indicates worry about payment structures affecting their quarterly reporting. Tanaka nods gratefully. The Americans understand. Crisis averted. Then the Chinese advisor, silent until now, speaks. In Mandarin, directly to Prince Khalid. In Arabic. He's creating chaos deliberately, testing if Celeste can handle cross-linguistic conversation. The room freezes. Celeste raises one hand, addresses the Chinese advisor in Mandarin. Mr. Zhou, your concern is noted. Let me translate your question for Prince Khalid, then facilitate discussion so everyone understands. She translates Zhou's Mandarin concern into Arabic for the prince, German for the Germans, Japanese for the Japanese, English for Americans. Not in sequence. In conversation. Keeping everyone included. For 5 straight minutes, she is the absolute center of the room, switching between languages, between cultures, between concepts, weaving threads into a single tapestry. James Fletcher sits forward, his skepticism cracking. A technical term comes up. Fiduciary responsibility. No direct translation in 3 of the 4 languages. Celeste doesn't just translate words. She explains the concept using culturally relevant examples. For the Saudis, she references Islamic finance principles of trust. For the Germans, she uses legal precision terms. For the Japanese, she frames it as duty-bound honor. For the Chinese, she connects it to Confucian relational ethics. Each group understands their own cultural framework. Prince Khalid stops the meeting. Miss Williams, where did you study Islamic finance? I didn't, Your Highness. I studied you. Your country's approach to partnership, what matters in your culture. I read your firm's history, your family's philanthropic work. Translation isn't just words, it's respect. The prince smiles. Genuinely. The 4-hour meeting ends in 90 minutes. All parties satisfied. Deal framework agreed upon. Handshakes all around. Then something unexpected happens. Prince Khalid stands, begins to clap. The German team joins. Then the Japanese. Then the Chinese advisor. Applause. In a corporate boardroom. For a translator. No. For Celeste. After the delegations leave, James Fletcher approaches her. I owe you an apology. Several, actually. Celeste, gracious as always. You were protecting your company. I understand. No, I was protecting my assumptions. There's a difference. And I'm sorry. David Carter steps forward. Miss Williams, we want you on salary. Not as a consultant, as a partner. Ashford and Williams Consulting, if you want it. Patricia adds, we were wrong about credentials, about who belongs in that room, about everything. Prince Khalid approaches Celeste privately before leaving. My daughter studies at Columbia. She struggles with English academic writing. Would you consider tutoring her? Then he adds, and I manage educational philanthropy for my family's foundation. Your approach to language learning, culturally grounded, accessible, is exactly what we need in our schools across the Middle East. Would you consult on curriculum design? Celeste can barely process it all. Richard pulls her aside. There's someone else here to see you. The someone is Professor Layla Hassan from Northwestern. She's been observing through the glass conference room walls with permission. But she's not alone. She's brought the dean of Northwestern's language department, a reporter from the Chicago Tribune doing a story on innovative educators, Oliver because Richard arranged it, and someone Celeste didn't expect, her son Darius. Richard called him, asked him to come witness this moment. Darius stands in the doorway. 23 years old. His insulin pump is visible under his shirt. Eyes wide. Professor Hassan speaks first. Miss Williams, we've spent 3 weeks reviewing your methodology. Through Oliver's case study, through interviews with people you've taught, through what we observed today. We'd like to offer you a position. Celeste's voice is barely a whisper. As a lecturer? No, as a faculty member. You'll need to complete certification, which we'll sponsor fully. But you'd start immediately as a language pedagogy fellow. You'd develop a curriculum for our community outreach program. You'd be the bridge between academic theory and practical accessibility. The dean hands her a folder. Inside, an office assignment, a fellowship stipend, $85,000 per year, more than double her housekeeping salary. A letter of recommendation already written for the certification program. Also inside, a check from Ashford Investments, $50,000. Bonus for the Saudi deal, plus back payment for consultations. Celeste's hands shake. The folder feels impossibly heavy. I don't know what to say. Darius steps forward. His voice cracks. Say yes, Mom. You've been telling me to dream bigger my whole life. Time to take your own advice. That's when Celeste breaks. 2 years of being invisible. 20 years of being told she wasn't enough. All of it crashes down at once. She cries. Not polite tears. Real, shaking sobs. Oliver wraps his arms around her legs. Don't be sad, Miss Celeste. I'm not sad, sweetheart. I'm happy. There's a difference. The Chicago Tribune reporter steps forward. Maya Rodriguez, early 30s, sharp eyes. Miss Williams, if you're comfortable, I'd like to tell your story. Not as inspiration material, but as a challenge to systems that waste human potential. You represent something millions of people experience. Talent that's invisible because it doesn't come with the right paperwork. Would you be willing? Celeste looks at Richard. He nods. Your story. Your choice. Maya continues. What would you want people to know? Celeste wipes her eyes, takes a breath. When she speaks, her voice is quiet, but steady. For 20 years, I've been invisible. I've stood in rooms like this, cleaning them at night, listening to brilliant conversations through walls. I taught myself 7 languages from library books and videos, not because I thought anyone would care, but because learning was the one thing poverty couldn't take from me. She looks around the room, at the faces watching her. I'm not special. That's the point. There are thousands of women who clean your offices, raise your children, serve your food, who have talents you've never bothered to ask about. We're not projects to save. We're resources you're wasting. Her voice strengthens. If you want to honor what happened here today, don't just celebrate me. Ask the person who cleans your building what they dream about. Ask your nanny what they'd do if money weren't an issue. Ask, listen. Then ask yourself why our systems make it so hard for talent to be recognized unless someone with power vouches for it. The room is silent. Then Oliver, who's been quiet, walks to Celeste. He pulls something from his pocket, the first flashcard she ever made for him, teaching him Spanish. She'd thrown it away months ago. He kept it. You told me languages help you understand people's hearts. You understood mine when nobody else did. That moment breaks everyone. Applause starts, not polite, thunderous, standing ovation. The Saudi delegation, still in the building, enters the room. Prince Khalid is clapping. The German team nods approval. Even James Fletcher is wiping his eyes. Richard steps forward, speaks publicly. Ashford Investments is establishing the Williams Fellowship, $1 million endowment, for talented individuals without traditional credentials to receive training, certification, and placement in professional roles. We're partnering with Northwestern to create pathways for non-traditional learners. Patricia adds, we're also conducting company-wide skills audits, asking every employee, from executives to facilities staff, what unused talents they have. We're creating internal mobility paths that don't require degrees. Prince Khalid approaches Celeste. Miss Williams, I manage educational philanthropy for my family's foundation. We fund schools across the Middle East. Your approach to teaching languages would transform our programs. Would you consult on our curriculum design? At proper consulting rates, of course. Celeste is overwhelmed. Your Highness, I don't know if I'm qualified. You just proved you're qualified. And my daughter still needs a tutor. He smiles, warmly, as an equal. Over the next hour, more offers come. 6 parents from Lincoln Park Academy request tutoring services. 2 corporate executives ask for business communication coaching. A community college offers a guest lecture position. Maya Rodriguez posts a 60-second clip on social media. Caption reads, "This woman speaks 7 languages. For 20 years, she cleaned offices. Today, Northwestern made her a faculty fellow. How many others are we not seeing?" Within hours, 2 million views. Comments pour in. My housekeeper has an engineering degree from her country. I never asked. I'm a janitor with a mathematics background. No one believes me. This made me cry. I see myself in her. I've been invisible my whole career. This gives me hope. That evening, back at the penthouse, Celeste stands at the window, 40 floors up. Chicago's lights spread below like stars. She's moving out in 2 weeks. Richard helped her find an apartment near Northwestern, a place of her own. Richard joins her at the window. Still feels unreal? Every minute. Part of me thinks I'll wake up tomorrow back in the laundry room, that this was just a dream. It's real. You earned it. Richard hands her something. Keys. The office suite next to mine. David and Patricia insisted. You're not just a consultant, you're a partner. Ashford and Williams Consulting, if you want it. Celeste stares at the keys. Her name is engraved on the key ring. Her name. What do I do with all this opportunity? Richard's answer is simple. Change the system that almost wasted you. 6 months later, the same school pickup area where this story began, same luxury cars idling, same autumn light filtering through Chicago trees. But this time, Celeste arrives differently. Professional clothes, briefcase, driving a modest but new car. She's picking up Oliver, still tutoring him, not out of obligation, out of love. The woman who dismissed her 6 months ago approaches, the one who told her to wait outside, who looked through her like she was furniture. Excuse me, you're Celeste Williams. I read the Tribune article. I wondered if you'd consider tutoring my daughter. She's struggling with French. The school says she might have learning differences. Your approach with special needs children. Would you have time? Celeste is gracious. I'm quite busy, but send me her information. I'll see what I can do. Not bitter, not vengeful, just confident. Evidence of transformation is everywhere. Celeste teaches 2 courses at Northwestern. Community education and graduate pedagogy seminars. The Williams Fellowship has sponsored 15 people in its first cohort. Janitors, drivers, retail workers, all with hidden talents, all getting second chances. Her story sparked a national conversation about credentialism, about who gets opportunities, about invisible talent. She's writing a book. The Invisible Experts, Talent Hiding in Plain Sight. Darius started pharmacy school. Full scholarship from Prince Khalid's foundation. Oliver thrives. Properly diagnosed and supported for his autism. He excels now. Has friends. Speaks 5 languages conversationally. Richard and Celeste co-founded a nonprofit, Language Justice Initiative, creating pathways for non-traditional learners. But Celeste's voiceover brings perspective. People ask if I'm bitter about the 20 years lost. The truth? I'm sad about what I missed, the opportunities I didn't get, the potential that was wasted. But I'm not angry. Anger doesn't change systems. Action does. She pauses. The next words matter most. How many others are still invisible? How many people served you today who have talents you'll never ask about? The person who made your coffee? Who cleaned your office? Who drove your ride? Who checked you out at the store? In America, 43% of working adults are underemployed. That's 70 million people. 70 million invisible experts. People working jobs that don't use their highest skills, their deepest gifts, their real potential. Not because they lack talent, because they lack the right paperwork, the right connections, the right skin color, the right last name. Here's what you can do. Today, right now. 1. Ask one person who serves you about their dreams, not as charity, as a curiosity, your barista, your delivery driver, the person who cleans your building. Ask them what they'd do if money weren't an issue. Then actually listen. 2. Share opportunities without gatekeeping. If you know someone hiring, consider talent over credentials. Recommend someone based on ability, not pedigree. Give someone a chance the way Richard gave me a chance. 3. Challenge bias in real time. When someone dismisses another person based on their job title, speak up. Gently, firmly. Make invisible people visible. 4. Support alternative credentialing. Advocate for skills-based hiring at your workplace. Push back on degree requirements that aren't actually necessary. Ask if that requirement protects quality or just protects privilege. Celeste and Oliver walk to her car. He's chattering away. They're going for ice cream, their weekly tradition. As they drive away, the camera holds on the school entrance. Other caregivers and housekeepers wait for their charges. Women and men of color, immigrants, working-class folks. Any one of them might be extraordinary, if someone bothered to ask. Celeste's final words come as voiceover. I'm not exceptional. I'm just finally visible. The question is, who will you see differently tomorrow? Share this story if it moved you. Comment below with one invisible person you'll see differently. And if you know someone who's been overlooked, send them this. Tell them their turn is coming. Because every person deserves to be seen. Every talent deserves a chance. Every voice deserves to be heard. Like, subscribe, and join the conversation. Because every Celeste Williams deserves recognition. Every Oliver deserves someone who believes in them. Every Darius deserves to dream without limits. The final image. Celeste and Oliver laughing in the car. Joy. Connection. Freedom. One last line. 16 words exactly. Talent is universal. Opportunity is not. Your move.